So now we are having our panel for this evening, brought to you by Terrence. How you doing, man?
What's up, brother? Thank you for having us.
Definitely,
Thank you, thank
definitely.
you. Let's give our MC a round of applause here, man. Thank all of you for being here. I'm gonna borrow that and hold on to it for the rest of the night. So before I jump in, vibe check. I see you. Okay, cool, cool, cool. My name is Terrence Woodbury. I am the co-founder of a full-service public opinion research firm called Hit Strategies. We are located about 4 doors down from here, 1301 K Street. We started 4 years ago, just me and my partner. We're up to 40 plus full-time employees, diverse researchers that live and work at the intersection of some of the issues that we're going to talk about today. We partner with organizations like NAACP, Color of Change, RWJF, um, Black Economic Alliance, Southern Poverty Law Center, in order to uplift the opinions and voices of those that are often underrepresented and not represented in research. Anytime you see a poll and you say, who the hell they been polling? You know, that's why we exist, to make sure that we are polling and focus grouping and understanding and then uplifting those voices and those stories. Many of the folks that that are affected by the programming and policies that we'll discuss here. So we strongly believe that you can't develop effective policy and program without understanding the communities that you're developing it for. And so we're gonna lean in on some of that intel. I want to acknowledge a couple of things before we jump in here. So first, I would like to thank Good Projects and the Black Justice Coalition for the fantastic work they are doing to dismantle systems of poverty, to uplift communities that again are at the intersection of where this injustice is happening. I would like to give Darius and the entire team a round of applause. Darius is getting all of his flowers while he's not here to smell them. But we're going to keep on acknowledging the great work that brother is doing. I would be remiss as we jump into this conversation about the impacts of oppression, about the intersections of racial justice and economic justice, and criminal justice, not to acknowledge the events that are happening right outside this hotel. The context is that we are all here under the shadow of protest, of advocacy that is happening in the streets right in front of this hotel. So I would like to take a moment of silence for Tyree Nichols and his family. Thank you all very much for that. I want to, we're going to talk a lot today about the amazing programming and work that our panel is doing to dismantle some of these systems, some of the policies, some of the programs, and how they are affecting our communities right here in Washington, but also how many of those programs and policies need to be and should be scaled to affect the broader community and diaspora. Get my nose together here, folks. Vibe check. Buy myself some time. See, thank you for that. All right, all right. Let's jump right in. I'm gonna introduce our panelists to be. Look, I am not going to do their record of service any justice in these introductions. So I'm gonna give you name and title, and I'm gonna ask our panel to tell us more about your work. And to answer this, in fact, yeah, as I go through, please introduce yourself. Tell us more about your work, and answer the first question, and that is, how are you investing in community leadership in your role? We'll start with, in fact, just so that you all know who we're talking to here, Rodney Red Grant is a comedian, is a advocate and activist and entertainer, also for a former mayoral candidate here in Washington, where he has lived and served. We also have Director Christy Whitfield, who is the Director of DC Department of Small and Local Business Development. Can we give each of them a round of applause as we go through? And finally, we have Director Delano Hunter, who is the Director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement and the Director of DC Public Parks and Recreation. And again, these titles do not nearly do their body of work justice. So I'm going to ask them to also tell us a bit more about their work and how they are investing in leadership in the community.
1 2 1 2 1 2. You gotta turn my mic up. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. All right, cool. So my name is Rodney Red Grant. Born and raised in Washington D.C. in DC General Hospital. Graduated from Dunbar Senior High School. Worked at the Department of Parks and Recreation. Was my last job, and I went on to play football at Savannah State University with the great Shannon Sharp. You know, Shannon is in the news a lot lately, but when I came back home, I went to UDC, University District of Columbia, and at 19, a friend of mine and a frat brother of mine, Kappa Alpha Psi, said you should tell jokes. And at that time, I was a hothead, and I didn't understand what he was talking about. But God moves you into places that you sometimes don't know you're gonna go. So I went on stage at Mr. Henry's in Adams, Morgan, and the rest is history. I was found about 6 months later by Russell Simmons, and I got on HBO Def Comedy Jam. Then I started working for Teen Summit and producing shows and moved to New York. And all of this is relevant to who I am right now because I love young people. I feel like that we are in a situation right now that we have to really put a lot of energy, money, time, and love into our young people. And if we're not really doing that, then we're failing them. I feel like sometimes we politic with our young people's lives, and I think that's terrible. So I come from that background. But I also am a humanitarian, started Don't Shoot Guns, Shoot Cameras. It's a program that helps young people learn filmmaking from thought to theater. And also started Beyond Your Block, where we take young people off their block and show them different things. We took them to the White House, African American Museum. We want to take them out of this city so they can see different things. And I'm the co-founder of Huff and Helping Your Future, which we certified over 5,000 people for jobs this summer. And I'm just an advocate. Some of you guys know I ran for mayor of Washington, D.C. Was the first independent ever to get over 80,000 votes. And as an independent, in a democratic city, that's incredible. But we're not done. We're going to make sure we hold everybody accountable that says they're going to do what they're going to do. So if you think I'm going back to Los Angeles, you're wrong. I'll be here for the rest of my life and fighting for justice and fighting for the people who are voiceless. So I won't take up a lot of time because I know they got questions for me. I'll pass it to you.
All right. Who can go after that? All right. My name is Christy Whitfield. I am currently the director of the Department of Small and Local Business Development. And I'm going to go backwards. You went forwards. I'm going to go backwards. So I advocated really strongly for this job. I wanted this job because I felt like two important things. Government can be better, and the person who is in a position like that should have done something. And I had done a couple of things. So I started Washington, D.C.'s first mobile cupcake truck, Curbside Cupcakes, back in the day. All right, anybody remember Curbside Cupcakes? Come on, guys, yeah. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm an advocate at heart. I had a whole career before cupcakes in community development and affordable housing. I thought that I had left the world of advocacy behind. And then there was a movement to stop food trucks in the downtown. And we founded the DC Food Truck Association. I was the founding chairperson of that association. And then we advocated for fair food truck regulations with a person, then council member Mayor Muriel Bowser, who would 7 or 8 years later find out that I had put my name in. And I was told by somebody that she said, cupcakes, right? And I was like, she's aggressive. And so when I went in for that job, I was like, she and I are familiar, and if she wants an advocate in this role, then she's going to go this way. I was literally, and I was saying, dating myself, because in my mind I was like, she could get with this or she could get with that, right? And I was like, and she went this way. And so I am currently the longest sitting director of this agency. When I was appointed, I was the 9th director in the previous 11 years, and I've now been in this role for 5 years. I'm the first director to collect fines from bad actors who are not spending where they should be spending with local directors. I take that money and I put it right back into the pockets of small business. I am honored to lead this agency. And to get to your question, what do you do to support leadership? I think first and foremost, I listen. I listen to some of the smart, amazing women who are here with me today from DSLBD. Give it up for DSLBD. Yeah. But I think, the smartest leaders listen and then react to a need and never feel daunted by what has never been done before. So.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. Again, my name is Delano Hunter, and I'm proud to serve as the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation and also the interim director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And similar to Mr. Grant, I'm a native Washingtonian. I am a proud product of the city's institutions, from the public school system to the Parks and Recreation Department, the community churches, the nonprofits. And my story, I'm very fortunate that I'm a product of that village. And as it relates to the question at hand, what am I doing to support leadership? I have had to, take inventory of how I've been fortunate to have a measure of success, and it's because people have afforded me an opportunity to lead. Similar to Mr. Grant, I know what it is to run for office and not win, and be in search of a platform, and really to realize that passion doesn't inform platform in a sense, right? So when you have a passion, it'll find a way to kind of manifest itself, and there are many platforms that can help you to live out that passion. So for me, I've really had to challenge myself, post-COVID, to re-understand the assignment and realize that it's not about your ideas or not about your mandate, but how do you really empower others? And for me, we've taken some affirmative and intentional steps. Like recently, we partner with one of our partners here, the Progressive Life Center, to really redo how we do violence interruption, right? We were working with a bunch of great organizations I have a lot of respect for, but we decided we wanted to deal directly with practitioners that are community-based, that are in the communities. It just makes sense. We're able to streamline it. It's better accountability, but also we're empowering organizations and leaders from those organizations to run the operations of those organizations and not to have to deal with the middleman. So I'm really proud of that. And even in Parks and Rec, I'm really proud on February 1st, we're launching a new grants program, over $3 million for community-based recreators that are non-government in nature, because I've had maybe 1,000 inquiries over the past 4.5 years saying, hey, I want to help. We want to do this. We want to do that. And fortunately, the mayor was able to buy into the vision after lobbying for a few years. And the idea behind that is very similar. Again, I'm a believer in government, right? It is a part of the solution, but a very small part of the solution. We all have a role to play, but if I can use this platform to provide resources and opportunities for others in their platform, that is my goal, and I'd like to do this during my remaining time in government.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm gonna take vibe check. Okay, and I see. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of moderator's privilege here, because as a first-time entrepreneur, I have friends who are serial entrepreneurs. I have friends in this audience that are entrepreneurs, I'm sure. As a matter of fact, round of applause if you yourself have started a business or work in a startup. Okay, so good. I don't feel so selfish about asking these questions because other people need it too. Christy, what programs are available for young leaders and entrepreneurs that can scale their work in the city?
Okay, well, let me say, I'm gonna say two things that sound contradictory. It's unrealistic to think that you can build a viable long-term business on grant money. Hard stop. And we have some grants open.
Yes. Okay, good. We got there. Okay.
So check our website, dslbd.dc.gov. We have a couple of grants that are open. We have the Dream Grants, which are open for entrepreneurs in Ward 7 and 8. If it's not open, it'll be open imminently in the next couple of days. And then we have Robust Retail Grants, which is for people that are in the retail corridors, which we know have really been struggling. But the other piece of this is that along with a lot of these programs is access to people that want to help you take the next step forward. The other thing that I have to often say to my different constituents is like, well, when are you going to do this? And who's going to do this for me? And I literally was talking to a mayor recently. I was like, you were going to do that for you. Well, what are you going to do? I was like, we'll help you. We'll read it. We'll give you advice. And then we're going to give it back for you to do. Right. And so I think this is a very teach a person to fish type of environment. We run Main Street programs across 28 cities, 28 commercial corridors in the city. And this is programs that really help entrepreneurs figure out whatever that day-to-day is. What is my, how am I working on my cash flow? How am I working on my back office? People that are interested in procurement, we have our Procurement Technical Assistance Corporation. It's part of DSLBD, and that's to help you figure out your contracting. How do I make a more competitive application? How do I get myself in front of things? We certify local businesses, so the CBE process, Certified Business Enterprise, for people that want to procure with the government. Mayor Bowser is the first person to write down in a book where the opportunities are. It's called the Green Book. We've moved that book to digital, so you can check it again on our website, dslbd.dc.gov, where you can look at where are agencies spending money with local businesses, and then more importantly, where are the opportunities where agencies and places are saying, I can't find a local business that does this. It's called a waiver, but really it's just a gap in the marketplace. And so if you see these places where you say there's a big gap in the marketplace, everyone's saying that they can't find a local business to do X, Y, Z. That's a clue. It's like a breadcrumb, right? And so you can follow those breadcrumbs. Last year, we broke a previously unbreakable barrier of spending $1 billion with local businesses. Wow. I'm going to pause because I don't know why you're not clapping yet for that. And then once that was broken, Mayor Bowser said that unbreakable ceiling is now the floor. And in this current year, that's the floor. We're going to spend at least another billion or $1.1 billion with local businesses. And so that's a long answer. The short answer is whatever kind of business you want, whether contractor or retail or a made in DC creative, we're here to meet you where you are and help you take your next step. Because sometimes you think, how am I going to get all the way to? All the way to is sometimes a little bit too overwhelming. So we'll meet you where you are, help you take your next step. And then what are you going to do? We're going to meet you where you are and help you take your next step. And so check us out. And if we can't help you, we'll try to connect you with somebody that can.
Great. All right, Red, talk to us, man. So you put forth a very transformational vision. You ran for mayor, and like you said, this was a historic campaign. You also put forth some criticisms of some things that you didn't think were going right in the city. And so now that you have, you've restaked your flag here, made it very known that you're not going back to Hollywood right now. What's the plan now? How do you continue to move that vision forward and continue to apply pressure to the powers that be for the things that you acknowledge were not going right in the city?
Well, this is this is my second time in front of a camera speaking about anything political. And I did one yesterday and this today. I said I wasn't going to speak political to after Martin Luther King's birthday, and now I'm ready. I want to bring Hollywood to D.C. See, I think that, if Atlanta is creating about $8 billion a year just in film and television, and Washington, D.C. be bringing that same revenue here and creating those type of jobs here in the city. So, me being a filmmaker, me being a producer, executive producer, I feel like that's my job. Me being critical is just me. I think that you got to put pressure on anybody who says that they're going to do certain things because people don't have the same voice that I have and the same platform. So I'm going to continue to do that. But I want to work with people too, because you can't have the city split like it is right now, because it's definitely split. And, we're not looking at the reality of it, then we're fools. So the city is split, and we need to find a way to bring it together. And I think God's put me on this earth to be that catalyst and that vice to bring our city together, no matter what position that I hold. Just continue to use my voice and to continue to structure my opinions to help people see things. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think you said it earlier, sometimes it's hard to hear the hardship of something that you don't want to hear, but it's good for you sometimes. And if you're implementing some of the programs that we need implemented, then we're cool. That's the best. I think that recreation centers should be, for our young people. I think it has to be more innovative. I think the things that, because I come from, like I told you, I worked at Ridge Road. Bumper pool and tennis, ping pong and pool. Yeah, that's a thing in the past. It should be there, but it should be more innovative, where we have gaming for our young people, where they learning coding and other different things that are more innovative. And I think we can do it together. So yeah, I've been critical, but I'm me. And I hope people can respect that. Hopefully I sit down with the mayor and she understand who I am as a person. That's a campaign. That's that's an election, and people want me to run, and I'm gonna continue to run. I'm gonna continue to be their voice.
I feel like I would be remiss not to go to Delano after that. As one of the as you arguably control the largest public spaces in Washington, and I do want you to give you an opportunity to respond to Red here. And what responsibility or what plans do you have to continue to look? I think that advocacy and keeping them open was the first step. Expanding them is the second step. But innovation, and making them more accessible to where young people are and where young people are going. What is your plan and your responsibility to that?
Sure. I appreciate Mr. Grant's comments, and those are certainly ones that I take to heart. The truth of the matter is there's a real sense of urgency to the struggles that our young people are dealing with in this city and nationwide. It's something that, I take very personal. Again, I was born and raised in this city, early 90s. And I could say I feel more vulnerable now than I did then. I feel more vulnerable now than I did then. And there's a real sense of urgency. I can't tell you I have solutions, right? I think it would ring hollow if I said, hey, this is the 10-point plan for what we're doing. I do know there's some things that we're doing, that they're building blocks that we can build upon. I'm really inspired by my colleagues at Parks and Recreation, because they really have been unsung heroes. They were the first. They stayed open during the pandemic. If you got a vaccination or a COVID test, but some of you probably got it from a site. When other entities didn't want to engage kids, we were the first to engage kids in person during the thick of it in May and June of 2020. And I draw on that inspiration. But what can we do more? Last year, we held some centers open 24 hours. We had late night hypes. This year, we have started an esports program in 5 locations. We're launching an ATV program, but yet at Camp Riverview, but yet it's not enough. So again, it's not a rebuttal. I take that to heart, and I think the sentiment behind that is there's an urgency to what can we do as an agency, but also there's an urgency to each of us in here, given your platforms. What can you do to engage youth? So that's something that's top of mind. I embrace that. And again, I'm losing a lot of sleep over that in both hats, all right? Because we get it from it's tough. Like these young people, to 2 of the young men who've been tragically murdered over the past couple months, like they were on our football teams. Right, they were in our centers. I was at Brentwood yesterday, and they told me about this young man. No, he was just here a couple of days before he passed away. So again, I don't have the solutions. I don't know. So I'm searching. That is the number one solution. We're going to try everything we possibly can. But I know that we can't do it alone, and it takes all of us to figure this out.
Thank you for that.
No, I wasn't being critical of you. Okay, because it's important that we understand and work together. I just think that the separatism in our city is it's terrible right now. And if we don't start working with one another, it is a lot of advocates that's out here that's helping young people that don't get the opportunity to come into the recreation centers and bring those programs. And we gotta be open to that. We can't close our city down and we can't separate it. So that's when I talk about that. Yeah, I go swimming at Bury Farms. I use the recreation center. Right now to this day, my daughter plays basketball and Ridge Road right now, and it feels good for her to be playing in the same place that I play. Well, I work that, so I just want us to start working with one another. I'm passionate about that, so I don't want anybody to separate us from that situation. I want us to be able to reach out to one another and say, shoot, you got a program ready to help young people learn filmmaking. We need that in the recreation centers. Let's keep them engaged. Yeah, we can't save all of them, but we can save more. I really believe that.
What would be your look? It's a room full of like we said, professionals, entrepreneurs, creatives, and obviously people that give a damn about what's happening in their community, or they wouldn't be here on a Friday night. What is your call to action from your vantage, from your role? What's your call to action to this room and how they can better connect to the resources and programs that you have, but also what their responsibility is in empowering leadership in the community?
Man, I'm looking at some leaders in this place right now. And I see people who are really on the front line of trying to use their voice to change. And it might sound like we yelling sometimes. It might sound like we're heckling, but we're not. My call to action is basically, let's each one grab somebody. Got all these young people in the neighborhoods, and they need us.
That's going to be my final question to everybody on the panel here is the call to action, and then we're going to come to you all for questions. So start preparing those. But let's go down. What's your call to action to this room and how they can better empower leaders in the community?
So when we started Curbside Cupcakes, there were no food truck. There was maybe 2 food trucks in the city. And a lot of people said to us, like, are you crazy? This has never been done before. And when we're doing a lot of the work that we're doing at DSLBD, when I was first started, people would say to me, oh, this has never been done before. Like, well, we've never done it this way. We've never done it this fast. We've never done it this transparently. We've never done fill in the blank. So, my call to action is don't listen to that. Like, you have to stand in your own truth and then demand that the system meets you where you are. And I think that is where the advocacy comes, because if 20% down for a commercial property, acquisition doesn't work for you, then don't accept the premise. Don't accept the frame. The system is supposed to work for everyone. And when it doesn't work for everyone, you have to challenge the paradigm. And then you have to demand what it is that you need instead of accept the blame that something that wasn't built for you doesn't work for you. That's my...
I agree with everything that Mr. Grant and Director Whitfield has said. And if you'd went to me first, my comment probably would have looked a lot like theirs. But in the spirit of just offering something different, again, I told you this is something I spent a great deal thinking about. And what has helped me during the course of the pandemic really is tapping into my faith, as a believer. And I say this, in my own private capacity. What I've found is that, through reconnecting with my faith and my belief system, what I found is that it's not just enough for me to want to take care of myself. I've been inspired to kind of, not necessarily witness. I don't want to make it seem like that, but also ensure that other people have that opportunity as well. Because again, I'll be honest with you. Again, it isn't government, just government alone. I think that there's faith-based, certainly that has a role to play, but also our own personal a journey through spirituality. And I've been inspired to help others, reconnect to that as well. And that's something that has paid dividends through family members, through who I know are struggling, just with mental health, through neighbors, through mentees, through people in my network, and by sharing that and helping them to maybe reconnect with their spirituality or explore their faith, maybe just by chance that they'll receive some of the benefits that I'm receiving. So that's something I'm doing. So my challenge with you to be not just look at the platform that you have, right, but the other platforms that you have access to and the other things that you may not be top of mind. There may be a solution that isn't top of mind or front of your face.
I want to give you all one call to action here, and that is to spend your capital where your values are. And that capital could be your own personal budgets. It could be where you spend to get your nails done, where you spend to get your groceries, where you spend. But a lot of us have access to other capital, and it's where your budget goes. It's where who your vendors are. I had dinner with the president of the Wells Fargo Foundation yesterday, and he was telling me how much they had been diversifying their loan recipients. And I was like, your vendors, you got a $300 million budget. What percentage of that is going to Black and brown people? Not who you giving loans to. And so, Hit Strategies is a Black-owned company a couple doors down from here, and we've made a priority that our IT is Black, our designers are Black. We got to do the healthcare providers are Black. Well, if this company got to spend money, it's going to look like our values. And so I challenge all of you to spend your money, spend your capital, not just your money. Spend your capital where your values are. Let's give actually, before we give our panel a round of applause, we're supposed to open up to questions from the audience. And I'm just going to go around and pass the mic around a little bit.
I'm actually curious to know this, and I might regret asking. Not really. How do you feel philanthropy has or has not been a catalyst for change?
For me, I think it's been a big catalyst for change. The people that I could touch, being a philanthropist. And I didn't even know what a philanthropist was maybe 7 years ago. I just kept hearing the word. But helping young people and just giving back, giving 10% of yours or just giving your time to people, I think it helps. I think we don't do it enough. I think, we come from a selfish environment sometimes, so we don't give ourselves enough, but I think it helps a lot. I want to inspire, I want to ask people to do it more. Come help me, help them. If you don't know how to do it, you don't have your own that you're trying to inspire, come around me. We got a lot of kids, a lot of people who, and homeless people too. It's like we live in a city where, this is probably like the third highest rate of homelessness in the country. So we got to continue to give that.
I think philanthropy can be a spark, right? And I think that philanthropy will do first what it wants to inspire the market to do. I think also that philanthropy is an institution, and I think institutions are loath to change. And so sometimes some of the philanthropy that we see, particularly like a lot of corporate philanthropy, is more of a marketing and outreach plan to make sure everybody knows we're on the right side of an issue, right? And so, I know we're got a funder, but it's like this is, but we're here for truth, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that we have to challenge every institution, banking institutions, lending institutions, government, and philanthropy also, to go deeper than their annual report and to make sure that the way that you're making decisions and the way that you're engaging in the focus of those resources is inspired in a holistically diverse way, and not just what the what the pictures look like. So I think like every single thing, it's better than it was, and it's probably not as good as it's going to be. Yeah.
I want to respond to that as well, because I think that philanthropy has to be the spark of innovation, and that requires space for shit to not work. A lot of program metrics that require this much return or this much well, sometimes it might not work. And that's where philanthropy's got to be able to fund the innovation, take some chances, invest and spark that chance, and accept that it might not work.
As someone who is in the field of philanthropy, I will say philanthropy is not going to spark change. You are going to spark change. And our role is to fund what you want to do and what communities need, right? Or at least that should be our role. And I don't know how many people know, but foundations are required to spend 5% of the funding they have, right? All the money they have in the bank, they are required to spend 5% by the IRS. But that 95% can also make a difference. So that 95% that's sitting in the banks, like PNC, Wells Fargo, that also have foundations, those funds get invested. And the way those funds are invested in the market can also be negative or positive and have effects on communities just as much as the 5% that we put towards the programming, such as funding projects like the Black Justice Fellowship or research that from an academic institution. So I just want to say, please do not expect philanthropy as a field to spark change. Our role should, we can't. We can only support change makers like you, like Good Projects, and other organizations that are doing the work. Thank you.
Love it.
Good. Anybody else here? Questions? All right. I'm gonna try to get this mic around, but if not, just speak up.
Hello. My question is, as folks in this room who kind of, I'm sure we all have heard the headlines that some young person is the gun violence in the city, and there's just been a lot of talk about violence in general. And I know that that's a symptom to something much larger that's happening, right? That's not it. So I guess my question is like, what is the real issue that young people are facing in the city, and why has it seemed like the gun violence has gotten worse? It seems maybe that's just not true. Maybe that's just what the media is portraying. And as folks in the room who want to do more, where should we be putting our energy, especially towards young people?
It's a long answer, and I can't say that there's one. I think you can't underscore how many kids were cut off from the support networks during COVID. I do the urgency of engaging kids like in person in school. School is a lot more than just a place to be educated. It's a safe place. It's an opportunity sometimes to escape some of the challenges in the household and in the community. It's a place for proper nutrition. It's a place for proper guidance and all the other things that were in person that have not returned. It's hard to believe that a 14 or 15-year-old, but if you think about it, a 14 or 15-year-old that is now a perpetrator or victim of violence, when COVID started was an 11 or 12-year-old. And you look at what happened, I think you can't, that's a large part of it. Also the flow of guns. I can't tell you, I think we all have heard the sound of gunshots maybe before. Grew up in the city, so you're accustomed to it. What was once a pop, pop, pop is now, I mean, the insane amount of, weapons on the street is something that concerns me. And again, I say this just in my own personal capacity, but I remember growing up, if there was a neighborhood crew of some guys, maybe one guy, that was really, really tough. May have had a firearm. Not everyone seems to have one, and we're seeing, conflicts that are disputes that maybe would have been a fist fight, a few years ago, and now escalating to gunplay. So in terms of what we do, I think, I don't have all the solutions. I know there's some things that are just beyond my purview, but I do know from the standpoint of engaging our youth, which I think has been one of the themes here, in new and dynamic ways. Clearly what we've done leaves a lot to be desired. So I think that is of the utmost importance. And then, I do think we as a nation have to, at some point, when it seems like we're ready to have a conversation, about gun laws and what we think is appropriate. Because I do think that while this is an international issue, clearly in the United States, something's a lot different than compared to what's going on in other nations. So, just a couple of thoughts.
We're going to get one or two more questions and get our entire panel in, and then we're going to have to move on.
Oh, if he been waiting, let him go. Okay. So it's a two-part. Do you feel like that the small business of DC would open up grants to the minors if they have LLCs so that way it could help them to get off the street and look forward to being an entrepreneur and looking forward to not being on the street? And if so, would that be something that you would look to do within the direction?
Yeah, that's a really interesting. That's a good question. I would think that the best place for it would be DCPS, because there's a lot of things that you're learning in school that speak to whether or not and how you run a business, right? But I think there's no bad idea with regard to like better opportunities for what kids need to be focusing their energy on. I think a little like, we've worked with some other, like we work with DOES on some youth entrepreneur programs, but like something that was consistent, right? Like SYEP, but like for entrepreneurs, that could be really cool. Okay. All right.
I definitely want to add to that. I think that we definitely have to bring back financial literacy put it in place so our young people will understand financial literacy at a young age and not wait till they're in their 20s and 30s and understand money and credit. So, they should be having their own businesses. A lot of them have a lot of great ideas, but we got to continue to motivate them to be great.
How you guys doing?
Very well. Awesome.
As a,
I see you.
As a new director and founder of an organization that's meant to end the foster care to prison pipeline, I'm curious as to how your advocacy is geared towards foster youth. But before you answer that question, I just want to throw out a couple things. The reason why I'm so curious is because I'm from California, Los Angeles specifically. I'm currently the youngest foster youth to ever be released from a California state prison after serving a death sentence of life without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years. I ended up in the foster care system after my mother was raped. I am the product of that, me and my younger brother. I ended up in 48 different foster homes by the time of 16. I had been physically, mentally, and sexually abused by 2 people. I regrettably lost control, and I murdered my second abuser. I went to prison, a maximum security prison. I'm not sure where you guys were at when 9/11 took place, but I can tell you where I was at. I was 18 years old, and I was serving the first 5 days of my death sentence. And again, I'm curious because today, 20 years later, we have a population of about 500,000 foster youth in this country. And it's a consistent number with 26,000 young people who are emancipated from this system. But consistently, we have 500,000 foster youth. 3% of foster youth attend college, and only 15% of that 3% graduate. So now let's talk about the 97%. This young lady asked, what's taking place? That 97% is fueled by 46% that end up in prison. I'm not sure about the percentage that end up homelessness. Mr. Red, I heard you bring up homelessness, and I'm curious again as to how your advocacy plays a part because this is the third largest homeless population. Thank you for enlightening me. I am someone who is curious about data, statistics, because I am curious as well as to what is the issue. And again, I am curious because that 97% fuels gangs, homelessness, poverty, mental health issues due to trauma. Again, I'm just curious as to how your advocacy is playing a role in foster youth, because I truly believe that the foster youth are actually our most vulnerable population when we think about PTSD.
Yep.
And how that plays a part in health. Thank you.
Well, first, people need to hear your story, like in real life. Like that story is a deep story, and it's gonna help a lot of people. Because when you look at the numbers, it's terrifying to see how young people in foster care come out of foster care with nowhere to go but the streets, or to get involved with something that they shouldn't be involved with. I wish I had the finances to help them all, but I do want to continue to be an advocate to help our foster kids and the people who come out, and our young people who come out of foster care, because mental health is real. I think we all know that, right? And they're dealing with a lot of mental health. We all are, but they dealing with some deep mental health. And sometimes we don't have the doors open for them to go and get the help that they need. And I agree, the resources either. So I'm trying to help as many people as possible. Foster kids, kids that in single family homes, kids that's got parents that don't care about them. So you can check my research when it comes to, or research me when it comes to helping kids coming out of foster care. But we got to do it together too, and continue to tell these stories so people will really take this thing serious. So, but resources is the key, though. We definitely got to get the resources.
I don't deal directly with the youth issues, but in terms of your story, which is awful, and I'm sorry. And one of the worst parts of this, you're not the first person I've met with that exact story. You're not. And I think that's awful, right? The portion of the statistics of those, different bands of people and where they go. So I'm going to tell you guys about a business, Main Roads, and her story is the same as your story, where she ended the life of her abuser and she went to jail. And then she came through our Aspire to Entrepreneurship program, which is a program for returning citizens who want to start their own business. And she actually is also dealing with a lot of severe mental health issues, and she makes beauty products and soap. And she makes them that reflect her journey. And, part of her motto is it's okay to not be okay. And she's got these soaps that look like how she feels when she makes them. And she puts her journey with mental health into that. And so the one that I remember, there's a soap that she has that it has a beautiful long name, but then the subtitle of it is Bitch Get Up. Because this was how she felt at the time, right? And so I think the thing that I can say is that a lot of returning citizens feel like their return home is a dead-end road, and it isn't. When I met the first cohort of Aspire participants, They actually went around the room, and then I think out of habit, they each said like, "Oh, I'm so and so, and I was away for this, and now I'm back for this," and I was really struck by that because then I said to them, I said, this is interesting. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. The one thing that unites everyone in this room that you've been away is the least interesting part about you to me. Right? And what you want to do next is what's important. And so I think that for DSLBD, like we don't engage at that preliminary level, which would be deeply preventative, but we do have opportunities and interventions so that when people do come home, they can make a different choice. And so I think one of the things about entrepreneurs is that they give themselves those choices, and then we try to help them along the way. And so again, I wish that your telling was the first time I had ever heard a story like that, and it's not. But programs like Aspire and the work that we do is to help make sure that that cycle can end.
I'm interested in learning more. I know I've personally only scratched the surface. We do target specifically foster family and foster children for free programs. Specifically, our summer camp, every year we partner with CFSA to reserve anywhere between 250 and 300 slots. Every year, at least since 2019, we have not had 100% participation or utilization. But again, that's just scratching the surface. So I'm certainly interested in learning more about what more we can do, if there's any way that we can reach those families and those kids.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, brother. And I'm really sorry. That is that is the first time I've ever heard a story like that, and it's heartbreaking. But it's also just really empowering to see your resilience, see what you're doing now. I'd like to give you a round of applause. Also give this panel a round of applause. And one more time, I would like to give Good Projects and the Black Justice Coalition a round of applause for the launch of the Black Justice Fund. Thank all of you. I'm going to turn this mic over to whoever comes and grabs it first. There he is. Okay. I know if I just held it up.
This was amazing. I didn't get a chance to. Yes.
You right under that light right there. That's kind of hard to see that background, so I'm sorry I missed you, man. It's all right. There is no apology without action. Right? There's a lot of people in here and almost got overlooked, and quite honestly, that's what's happening in these suits. All right, if you're being real. First off, I want to thank and commend you guys. You guys have taken on the brunt of a lot of these people's gaze. That's very difficult. The gaze is not only on them, you guys. It's on everyone in this room. All right. The answer is in this room, as well as the issues, as well as the pain. If you were sitting in this room and you didn't get hot listening to this from the very moment that it started to the very moment that it ended, I'm sorry, you have an issue. All right. I don't want to make this long-winded. It's simple: conviction, listening, taking things to heart, understanding that. That's where we start. That is not the end of things. All right? We begin with conversations like this. The reason some of these problems haven't been fixed is because we haven't had this conversation. I just want to leave it at that and keep that on your spirit, and do not leave this room without figuring out something to do to help. Period. Thank you so much. Thank you to Mr. Ty as well. He put together all the visuals for this evening.
Again, thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight for the panel. Amazing panel. I heard a lot of things. I'm in the community as well, just in the field for the fight. I see a lot of our young guys just coming and going. If it's not to the gun violence is going into jail, is just crashing out. And a lot of times they don't think before they act. It's just straight adrenaline rush. They feel like they're in survival mode at all times. So hearing your reactions to these questions, it lets me know that you all are fighting. You all do care. You're saying you're a boss and you don't know what I can do at this moment. I appreciate that because it gives me the opportunity to say, I can come up to this director and I can tell him what I feel like needs to happen. And a lot of times, people in the community, we're scared to come talk to you because we don't know how you would take it or are you even going to listen? So just hearing you say, I don't know, I'm looking for the answers from you all. It makes me feel so good, man. Thank you so much. With that being said, I want to take over and give the mic to Mr. Darius Baxter. We appreciate you, man, for even bringing us in this setting, man. It's amazing. Give him another round of applause. Darius Baxter, Good Project CEO.
Thank you. So I love y'all to death, but it's my turn. Y'all gotta go. No, but all jokes aside, let's give another round of applause for our panelists. And I promise y'all, I know we started a little late. Nobody could have predicted that there would be a protest right outside of our event. I promise y'all they were not protesting us. That was you? Oh my God. So Nene Tay is the reason why we late. 2021 recipient of the Black Justice Fellowship. Okay. So everybody give Nene Tay a round of applause. Thank you, Nene Tay. Putting us a few minutes behind, but it's okay. We made it here. And thank you again to our panelists. I think, are you? And also, I want to, do y'all know it's your son's birthday today? Director Hunter is spending the evening with us on his son's birthday. So can we just, thank you. Thank you. Now, I could look around this room and there's so many people that I can account the success of this organization to. But I just want to, I'll give a blanket thank you because we'll be here all night if I just went around and thanked every single person. But I really want to let you all know how humbling it is. Like, I can't make this up, man. Like, we started, and I was reflecting on this story earlier today. Good Projects was we didn't start with any money. We definitely couldn't fill up a room with heads of foundations. We couldn't, people that are leading banks, partners, government directors, people that are running polling, people that know the vice president and president. Like, it's crazy just to look at, here we are 7 years in the game, and the type of room that we can put together on a Friday night. But as you guys can see from the direction that we've been heading, particularly over the last 3 years, this isn't about a Darius Baxter. It's not about our origin story. It's about the people. And what can we do every single day to put ourselves in a position where one day we don't have to exist? And that's what I work towards every single day. And I'm proud to say that we've been able to build a team that believes in that mission and that vision. It's not easy to get a bunch of young people, and when you're interviewing them, you're telling them, look, man, if I do my job right as your boss, you ain't gonna have a job in about 5-6 years. And they're like, okay, yeah, sign me up. You know, it don't usually go like that. But I'm gonna give a short presentation to you guys to just give you a little bit of understanding why we're here today. Okay, is that cool with y'all? And I promise y'all not gonna hurt my feelings. I know we're a little bit behind the time. It's a little hot in here. But I promise you, the devil's always working, but good people always prevail. So here we go. So go ahead and just kicking it right off. Again, shout out to our amazing, we didn't know he was a public speaker as well, but our amazing graphic designer, Mr. Ty. Mr. Ty, you open for business? Are you taking? Always open for business. So, Terrence, you said you're looking for black graphic designers. We got one right here in the room, man. All right, so let's go ahead and show off his skills. So, to any great presentation is starting with the why. When I look at my life, and I'm blessed, if you guys have had the opportunity to visit us at Good Projects, we're always open for business as well. Visit and see the work that we're doing. You see that I've been very thoughtful about how we've built the team over the last few years. And there's nobody more proud that I've been able to bring onto the team than my mom, Miss Stephanie Page Baxter, who's joining us in the room today. Our director of youth programs. And here's the thing, when I brought onto the team, it was a lot of haters, right? They were like, look, you just hire your mom because she's your mom. But Good Projects was proudly named the #1 high-impact tutoring hub in Washington, D.C. for 2022. So look, she know what she's doing. I know what I'm doing. Look, I come from good stock. There you go, mama. Go ahead, raise your hand. Look at that. She leading all them youth programs. I can't take the credit. And her beautiful sister, Benita Barnes, next to her, definitely helped raise me. But the thing about our story, and to know me is to know where my passion comes from. Is that, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't wake up one day and have a parent that entrusted a bunch of money into this work and was like, go out there and try to help some people. We got it from the ground up. From a lot of people that are in this space right now, literally this physical space, can relate to that story. But through it all, we continue to push, we continue to prod. And by the grace of God, I found myself in a position where I was, I had every opportunity in the world in front of me. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I did. I made it to the amazing Georgetown University. And when I was approaching graduation in 2016, good God, I didn't know an entry-level job could pay over $80,000 a year. Like, that's a thing. I promise you, it's a thing. Like, and it was very tempting. It was, I promise you. But there was this something burning in my soul when I found myself sort of looking out into what my future could be. Is Wall Street was appealing, being a consultant, being even an entrepreneur, sort of in certain spaces, and I had opportunities to do that. I just kept asking myself sort of this burning question, right? Like, why is it, I'm tall, by the grace of God, like I was a little bit faster than everybody else, not too much though, but I could catch sometimes, I wish I could have got more playing time. But I'm like, damn, like all of these skills and these gifts that God has given me has put me in a position where I am an exception to the rule. An exception. Like losing my father to gun violence at 9 years old, experiencing homelessness, getting suspended from school, going through depression, all of these different things that I faced. And you start adding them up about what does success look like for somebody from that position to how the brother so eloquently shared. Less than 1%. But I found myself still with all of these opportunities. And where a lot of my peers, particularly even my black peers, were jumping at the bit to go make money and, leave behind their troubles and their past to go off and create a better life for themselves and hopefully eventually their families. I had a mother and Stephanie Page Baxter. And I remember I had this conversation where I said, Mom, shit, I know it's been a tough road, Ma. But I think I'm gonna go do a summer camp. It's like, you going to a summer camp? Like, no, Ma, I think I'm gonna run a summer camp. And shout out a God-fearing mother, because I never forget that conversation. She said, baby, whatever you do, I'm gonna support you. Support don't pay the rent, but we, regardless of the fact, myself and my two co-founders, we put our foot to the flame and we went to work. And I can proudly say, and this is one of the reasons why I actually met director Christy Whitfield. She was actually one of the first, I thought we was hot shit. I was like, a director gonna have a meeting with us. I was like 21 years old. Like, and even director Delano Hunter too. I keep the team around me, man. The thing is, I'm telling you, man, these ain't new folk in my life. We've been together a while. And we made it through those 5 weeks of that summer camp, raised probably about $3,000, barely paid ourselves. Georgetown didn't know we were like living in the dorm still. For our college students, I'll tell you a fun tip. They don't actually come check the dorms after the school year is over. So let me stop before President Joya call me. But we found ourselves just doing it for not money, not the accolades, not to be able to fill a room like this, but just literally for the right to serve, for the right to love children that may not have an opportunity otherwise. And where I would have been happy if, 7 kids showed up to our first summer camp at Anacostia, 70 kids show up the first day. And my first thought in that moment is, damn, who would trust me with some kids? But the second one was, how are we gonna feed all these people? But then from there, we just continued to build and it worked out. And I share that story because here we are with these directors of agencies, and the question was asked about investing in young people. I can proudly say that we got our start through DC, because 6 months after completing that program in October 2016, it wasn't 6 months, sorry, 6 weeks, October 2016, we received a $500,000 grant from DC government. All right. And that grant was actually, it was managed by the brother right here, Brother Charles Evans. I told you I keep the same people around. That was like 6-7 years ago. And from there, we just continued to leverage and leverage and leverage. And here we are now, as we head into 2023, being able to healthily sustain a budget over $1.5 million year over year. right? Thank you. You can clap to that shit. I'll take it. Woo woo. All right. Not to say we can't do more. But I say all that to say it's like, even in that moment, right, challenging myself, like, wow, like, don't just be an exception, be an example. Don't just be an exception, be an example. I continue to tell myself that. In that moment, it was still an oddity, right? And I wasn't naive to the fact that a lot of that trust came from, I had a Georgetown degree. A lot of that trust came from the network that I had, maybe speak the King's English, and understanding that a lot of young people wasn't going to have those same opportunities. But we continued to club, we continued to fight. And in 2019, we launched the Good Zone Initiative, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the thing that brings us here today is because as a young Black executive director, and I'm proud to say that, and I think people forget that sometimes. I am the executive director of this organization, and with the responsibility that I've been crowned with, we're always going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to put our time, we're going to put our energy, and we're going to put our resources, we're going to put our networks there. So tonight, I encourage you guys to stick around. We have Ninite as an example in her protest out front. Okay. All right. I'm telling you, Nene know how to shut a street down. But as an example, yeah. See, God damn it. Are you serious? Are you serious? You couldn't have done it another way. But to the point. Okay, thank you, Miss Tay. But we have a number of young leaders and old that are going to be in the building. We're going till 1 a.m. today. And we hope that you all have an opportunity to stick around. I know we're getting late, but I want you guys, and this is really an example, like a Darius Baxter Good Projects was not built to be, the monopoly of what community change looks like. I got great people in my life like Mr. Selassie Cologne and Ty to help with our branding and our marketing, and Miss Jada who's out here who does our social media. Like, I ain't gonna lie, it's lit. Yeah, we look good. And that garners a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, success for us looks like, how do we pass these networks on to more and more and more people? So I kind of went a little bit off script because we're behind the ball. So we're gonna buzz quickly through the slides. Ty, slide 1. All right. So where are we at as an organization? Our mission has not changed. In 2019, we made a bold, audacious goal: 500 families to achieve in their version of the American dream by the year 2030. More specifically, what does it look like to support 500 families to support incomes above $80,000 a year annually and consistently, not just a one-off? Where are we now? We got some room to grow. So we have about 81 families that are enrolled in what is called Family Success Planning currently. Meaning Mr. Neil to my left, he's not just an amazing host. This is our Family Success Coordinator. We have other members of the team. I've already shouted out my mom. Every single day, individuals, particularly heads of households and their children, engage with what are called family success coaches. We've created a very intensive version of case management where families are receiving not only case management services, but also receiving mental health services. They're receiving high-impact tutoring on a daily basis. We distribute several dozen meals every single day, not just during the school year, but also as we head into the summer. And we'll continue to do that. And then we also encourage everybody, if you haven't been to a day at Good Camp, you haven't lived life yet. We're going to be getting started this summer, and we encourage everybody to come out and support us. Next slide, please, Ty. All right. So as highlighted by we're here today, Ms. Monica so eloquently stated the responsibility based on the IRS for foundations to distribute 5% of their funds on an annual basis. And yes, you are right, Ms. Monica. What does happen to that 95%? We don't talk about enough, but that's a conversation for another day. But unfortunately, my guidance doesn't come from the IRS. My guidance comes from the good Lord upstairs. And thank you, Brother Delano, for breaking the ice there. Yes, I am a believer. I wear God on my shoulder. And the Bible talks about all of us have a responsibility to tithe. I'll say that again. I know half of us ain't been to church in a while, but the Bible talks about all of our responsibility to tithe. Like I said, Good Projects has sustained a budget of about $1.5 million a year over the last several years. And in 2023, through our amazing partnership with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Ms. Monica Woot, we are investing 10% of our revenue, again, not our profit, our revenue, back into the community. in addition to the investments that we've been making. In 2021, we were able to make a $300,000 investment through our amazing partnership with the Greater Washington Community Foundation. Thank you, Mr. Neil Wellens. And in 2023, we're circling back. Next slide, please, Ty. Making an investment. Am I ahead of myself on the slides? Maybe. All right. We're making, there we go. All right, we're going to circle back. Go to the $150,000 one. Where we at with it? Put that out. Next one. We'll come back to that one. Well, there we go. So in 2023, we are investing 10% of our revenue back into the community, particularly 10 organizers, activists, artists, creators, community leaders that are doing great work. The big difference for 2023, and this is my challenge to all heads of foundations, anybody that has a budget, anybody that's giving out some money, spending it, investing it, we really want to try to challenge philanthropy with what we're doing this time around. Where in 2021, as you see in traditional philanthropy, there was a process where people were first nominated and then they applied. That produced, we can go back one slide, please, Ty. That produced about 4,000 individual nominations yep, you're at the right slide. That produced about 4,000 individual nominations that whittled down to about 350 unique nominees. From there, myself, Mr. Neil Wellens, Ms. Sherelle Swain, who couldn't join us tonight, and a number of other individuals on the selection committee took them through a standard scoring rubric, which you would see traditionally in philanthropy, to try to eliminate bias. And that whittled it down to a number of individuals. And then through several conversations, 10 individuals were ultimately selected to receive the $30,000 awards. That is how philanthropy traditionally has worked. Grant making in general through a scoring rubric. But what we're really trying to challenge in this process is philanthropy as a whole. One of the things that really inspired me to start this work in the first place was a very troubling stat that I saw my senior year of college. At that time, and it's much higher now, $250 billion was being spent in philanthropy just in the U.S. alone. I'll say that again, $250 billion. That was in 2016. It's up to like 400 now since the pandemic, but $250 billion just in the U.S. alone was being invested into philanthropy. And at the same time, the poverty rate was increasing by about 2.3%. How in the holy hell is that happening, right? Jeffrey Canada said the most amazing quote. He said, and this was in the context of education, education is the only multi-billion-dollar business that fails year over year but continues to receive investment. Philanthropy is no different, right? So what we're challenging, and again, putting our money where our mouth is that we're going to listen to the people this time around. And this is one of the reasons why we're here doing this launch event tonight, which you guys don't realize is happening right now with us being a little bit late. People are being ushered into the building, is that they're being onboarded to something that we've built called The Village with our partners at Dapley. And the nomination process will continue until February 26th. And then after that, a voting process will take place where it won't be a selection committee this time. The people themselves, you all included, will be the ones to get the vote who receive the $10,000, $15,000 awards. Okay, so that means this year, don't call my phone, don't DM me. I'm not going to lunch with nobody. It's up to the community itself to decide who ultimately will receive the funds. And that is us saying boldly and proudly, with our money and the little bit we got compared to some people in this room, that the people themselves, the stakeholders themselves, know what's best for them. Next slide, please, Ty. All right. So as I shared, good projects in more than one ways is continue to try to remain innovative. And I'm not going to say try, we're doing it, both through what we're delivering from a program perspective, but then also stand on the forefront of what social enterprise and social impact is going to have to look like. I've said this privately, and I'll definitely say it publicly. Organizations, particularly in the nonprofit space or any business, and we can go back one slide, Ty, particularly, I'm sure Director Whitfield knows about this, organizations are not going to be able to survive if they do not have technology as a part of their strategic plan moving forward. And I'll get that. That's my free piece of advice. That's my TED Talk for anybody that's running a business in here today. That is the direction that we are heading. We as a society, we as a people. And Good Projects wants to remain on the forefront of that. So the Village was created over the course of 2022 and launched at the top of 2023. as a what is called a decentralized autonomous organization. Ty, you having a seizure back there, my guy? Golly. Like the village was created at the top of 2023 as a platform, not just for nominations to occur for the Black Justice Fellowship for 2023, but also as a home for what will ultimately be, hopefully after tonight, hundreds and hundreds of community leaders to be able to continue to scale their work, most importantly, together. And if you guys haven't already, please, I encourage everybody to take out their phone right now. This is my call to action for this event. I'll ask you for the money at the end. Everybody, this is a URL right here. So if you can go to thevillage.community. I don't see people taking out their phones. This is a real call to action. Take out them phones. You right here in the front row, Butson. Oh, where yours at? Come on. You can go to thevillage.community. Y'all think that I'm playing. I hold the slide all night. All right. But in all seriousness, I encourage you guys to explore thevillage.community. What's up, Kyle? And check out, really, this is super innovative for an organization, particularly of our size and particularly of a nonprofit, to be able to build out tech like this. But we're very proud of it. And by the time we come back for Resolutions 2024, you all will be able to see some of the other tech that we've been building out, particularly as it relates to case management, connecting all of these things together. Next slide, please, Ty. So I would be remiss if I didn't thank our partners, many of which I've shouted out already. I could have been a rapper in another life. Primarily, you better stop singing. I got some songs. Next slide, please, Ty. As always, Ms. Catherine Clay and PNC. Yeah. So Ms. Catherine Clay, and I missed the introduction. I was dealing with some foolishness outside, but Ms. Catherine Clay, I'm sure, proudly told the story of how she didn't want to take a meeting with us when we were first getting started. She tells that story to everybody. But thankfully she did, because here we are 7 years later, continuing to... She didn't tell y'all that story? Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, no, she tell that story often. But PNC has been an amazing partner of good projects. Quiet is kept. And Ms. Nene Tay, actually, I appreciate you because she sees me, and you celebrated me in a way in the hallway that is so true. We kind of are, what is that old saying? Like, you keep it something in your fist and then like show them another hand or something. We have a very specific marketing strategy for Good Projects, but what people didn't realize was that Good Projects was the largest philanthropic recipient nationally from PNC Bank, and that was in large part to Ms. Catherine Clay. So thank you for your multi-year commitment. Yes, I'm young and black. Niggas be hating. All right, next. All right, and then, of course, our partners at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Again, Ms. Monica, thank you so much for your belief and encouragement. As I'm sure Mr. Neil Wellens would tell you, an initiative like this, when you talk about raising funds to invest in grassroots black leaders, it's not easy to raise money around something like that. We got a lot of no's. And what Ms. Monica doesn't know, and this is for any of my young entrepreneurs in the room, when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. We had done a round of trying to raise money for this iteration of the Black Justice Fellowship for about a year. And everybody and their mother said no. I had given up on the project. And just like, okay, it's not going to happen. We have amazing things going on. And Ms. Monica and I met at a conference, and we had set up a meeting, and I was pitching just our general programs. Hey, we do kids programs, we do feeding programs, we do public health stuff. I think this would be perfect for you guys. Never forget, she was like, I don't know, like, I don't think that's gonna be the thing for us. But we got a few more meetings left in the meeting, a few more minutes left in the meeting. Like, y'all have like a fellowship or something? Like, well, yeah, I do. And I got a video. Like, and I'll never forget, we left that meeting. She was like, yes, that's going to be the one. Send me a one page and I'm going to get that funded. And, you know, I've been in the game long enough. I know that ain't an easy thing to do. So thank you for your battles internally, I'm sure, that existed, and for continuing to fight, not just for Good Projects, but for all the leaders that will be supported by this investment. All right. Now and again, I know there's so many people in this room that I could thank for your support and encouragement from individual donors. My brother, Mr. Kerwin, he came and spoke when I was at Georgetown. We connected. That was almost a decade ago, and here we are still connected. From Miss Amy Arison, another group that has made a tremendous multi-year investment in the good projects, and we hope to continue to be able to work with you guys. And I can go all around the room, but from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. And there's a gentleman that's not in the room actually because he's working the front door, making sure that people are getting onboarded to the village. Mr. Pasquale and his partner Aaron, our partners at Dapley, who built out our technology for us for the village. And also a young black man, like to what Brother Terrence talked about, we try to invest in people that look like us. And I really want to thank them guys because this would not be possible without them. So, see, I think I'm at the end of the slides, right? Oh, there we go. All right. So that was supposed to be a 30-minute presentation. I think I got through it in 20. So if it's okay with everybody, we can go have a few drinks. All right. We can go listen to some good music. All right. That work with y'all? All right. So last but not least, I wouldn't be doing my job as an executive director, and this is probably why y'all forget because I don't ask y'all for enough money. Look, so our work is not free. It's not free and it's not cheap. We have an amazing team that's providing services and programs every single day to youth and families in the Southwest Public Housing community, and quiet is kept. We've extended our outreach even to a school in Nairobi, Kenya, where we have over 200 students that attend every single day. We're doing a lot of great things, and maybe it's the God in me, and maybe we're a little bit too humble, but I've always believed that if we do things for the right reasons, that it'll always work out. And it's easy for me. We have directors of agencies that can provide grants to our organizations. We have heads of foundations that can provide funding. We have individuals that have high net worths that can make investments. And I encourage all of you all to do that. You can visit goodprojects.org/donate. You can speak with Ms. Kara Gillespie or Mr. Duran Allen from our development department that are here. Don't worry, we know who in the room. We got your emails. But at the end of the day, you all's investment is important, but that's not really my focus because I trusted y'all gonna do that. We wouldn't have been together these years if y'all didn't believe in what we were doing. Y'all know we doing the work. But tonight is so important because, as all of us understand, it's not enough if just sort of, because all of us in our own rights are the one percenters, right? Myself included. It's not enough if we just get in rooms and fund each other's projects and talk about all these things. The most important thing tonight is the people that are filling that room out there, because we can't do anything without the people. We can't do anything without the village. A $1 donation from a single mom living in Southeast is more important to me than $1 million from a PNC bank. I promise you. Like, and all of us in our own right, although philanthropy makes it very appealing for us to sort of be these cool kids in our private rooms, let's just continue in all of our own lives and all of our own ways to include as many people as possible. So I love you guys, and if you know me, you know I mean that. I really do love y'all. And I promise you the devil is always working, but if good people are in a space like this moving together, there's nothing that can stop us. All right? So let's have some fun. All right, so we're gonna transition right now. I know we're a little bit behind schedule, but you all are good. We're gonna take a break, get some drinks, eat the rest of the food, and then for those that stick around, we do have some amazing community leaders that we're gonna be highlighting this evening. So we'll be back in this space in about 20 minutes. But thank you guys for coming.